So this is how it all begins. Just two guys from St. Louis, Missouri, talking about soccer. Steve Schlanger with Tim Ream. One of us, a current member of the U.S. national soccer team, also currently playing at the highest levels of European club football. Another one of us, currently playing in what I think we can all agree is the more physically demanding CYC Men's Over 40 Suburban Soccer League in St. Louis. Tim, it's a place where hamstrings go to die and ACLs are never seen again.
Oh, I'm telling you what, I probably know quite a few guys who actually play in that. So, listen, I'm not far off, so I'll be joining you in a few years' time.
Yeah, so to set things up, what we'll do just about every week is we'll take some of the most interesting, popular, important topics in the world of soccer, and we'll do deep dives on those individual topics. We'll also have some marquee guests that we'll bring on, and obviously you have your unique insight with still being an active player. A lot of times you have players who have already retired or are out of the game for one reason or another, so their perspective and insight is a little different, but when you're still in the game, it offers a whole new window into the sport, so that'll certainly be interesting as we get this show off the ground. And to lay the groundwork here, as we begin, I'm in St. Louis, you are back in London, and I guess starting preseason training for the next domestic season beginning in a little over a month and a half, right?
Yeah, don't remind me. I've not had enough time off to really wrap my head around another season. I start July 5th, so I start today, basically, and 4 grueling weeks and off to start the season is starts August 7th, and yeah, I mean we another year in the championship. I believe it's going to be my 10th full year once January hits, so I've been over here a long time. Probably people can probably hear a little bit of an accent every now and again.
Yeah, is it something that you consciously notice, or do you just kind of subconsciously pick up the accent? How does that work?
Yeah, subconsciously. I mean, truthfully, when I speak, I don't really hear it, and then it's just certain words, certain inflection. My wife gets me in trouble for it all the time. Somehow she's avoided picking it up, but I mean, when you're around all these guys who all speak, have that English accent, you've been playing with them for 10 years now, it's inevitable. I mean, you look at guys like Brad Friedel, he had it. Brad Guzan, it's subconscious. I don't do it on purpose, and all my friends back home give me a lot of trouble for it when I do see him and do speak to him. But oh well, what can you do?
How about your kids? I mean, they're going to grow up basically in England, probably with a legit accent, right?
Yeah, well, it's funny. My 7-year-old doesn't have one. My 5-year-old does, and the 2-year-old is really starting to speak, and she's already has an accent. So I have a feeling my boys are going to be able to turn it on and off whenever they feel like it, and hopefully the little one will be able to do that as well. But yeah, I mean, they were all born over here, but they do they go to American school, so they're around a lot of American kids, and that accent is I say accent, geez, I'm American, I'm calling American an accent. I apologize, but yeah, they're around a lot of different cultures, different people, so they've not quite picked up the English accent as much as probably I have.
It's amazing you mentioned the training for you starts today, and the length of the European domestic season is really remarkable. I mean, people, if they try to compare it to any of the major American sports, there really is no legitimate comparison. If you think about the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, they have months and months off during their off seasons, but in European football, I mean, you maybe get a month. Some guys, when they're playing these international competitions over the summer, they might just get a few weeks, and you're back into it, right?
Yeah, if it's a blessing and a curse, depending on your level of play. I'll give you a perfect example, guys. When we finished quite late last season, May 23rd. They will have all had time off from the 24th of May until a week ago. It was the first week back in preseason, so you're looking at 4 weeks, 4.5 weeks or so. Usually we get six. In the championship, your last game is May 7th, around there, and you go until all the way June 25th, 26th. So you'll get a good solid 6 weeks. If you're an international, you're traveling all over the world. You're looking, you're guaranteed in your contract, and through FIFA rules, you're guaranteed three weeks off. You have to have 3 weeks off from your last national team game until you come back. Now that's not always followed, but that's on the player and their club to agree that. And for me, I'm lucky enough that the club gives us 3 weeks. If we're a national team, so I'll have 3 weeks and 3 days, and that's been about average for me for the past 3 years.
I mean, that's really remarkable. I mean, guys have over 3 months in other sports. Is that really enough time for your body to recover?
No, not at all. And it's funny, you see these NBA guys worrying about how much time they're playing and how much recovery they get, and not being not having enough time to recover and playing too many minutes. And I'm just like, oh man, I'm playing potentially 46 league games, and only getting 3 weeks off, and in between there you're playing internationals, and you're playing cup games. So you potentially, I think the 2 years, well, the last time we got promoted, between national team, cup games, league, I think I played 60 some odd games in a basically
Wow.
in a 12-month period.
Yeah, and then you have the guys who are right now either at the Euros or at the Copa America, and they're going to finish up, if they go the distance, around mid-July. And then if they take their full complement of days off according to their contract, that's going to take them right up to the start, if not bleeding over into the start of their new domestic seasons with their club teams. So they may get some time off, but it's got to be an uncomfortable situation for them knowing that they are almost going to be rushing back and then trying to quickly get up to full fitness for their next season, right?
Yeah, I mean it's almost an impossible task. I mean, what do you do as a professional? You need the time off, but in the same breath, you don't want to be leaving it too long, and listen, every game another player has a chance to play, and you're not playing. You're the potential to then be even further behind, and so it's weighing that. Do they feel it's necessary that they need the time off, or is it more necessary for them to be in with their teams and in playing? And this is what I mean when I say guys will waive that time off and say, right, I'll only take a week, or I'll only take 10 days, and I'll come back early, and then that's on each individual player. But yeah, if they take that full time, especially teams who have brought in a new manager in the off season, you're looking at really being behind, and at that point you're playing catch up the entire season, probably until January.
Yeah, and you often hear managers talking, usually around the middle of the season or even later in the season sometimes, when guys might be struggling physically or have had a series of injuries, and they say, well, they didn't get a proper preseason. And you hear that a lot because that preseason period, what it does for you physically, tactically, mentally to be ready for the full grind of the season is so important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just building the base. Preseason is all about building a strong, solid foundation of fitness, strength, your mental approach, your tactical approach for the upcoming 10 months of the season. And if players don't have that, they're going to be struggling a bit. Perfect example. I came back 2019, played the Gold Cup. Come back. I took my 3 weeks off because they said I needed it. They wouldn't allow me to come back before the 3 weeks. I had 1 week of preseason, and physically, no problem. No issues whatsoever. Fitness was great. Missed the first game, obviously, because I had only just shown up for that week of training leading up to that first game, and then after that, just played. And I think, especially over here, you play around Christmas, so you don't have family. We were in a partial lockdown through COVID, and when I say you don't have family around, I mean like your in-laws, your siblings, your nieces, your nephews, your parents, and mentally, and I just hit an absolute wall around Christmas. And you play Saturday, Tuesday from a couple weeks before Christmas through New Year, and it just got to a point where I was just like, oh, like this is just.
I bet.
I'm over it. I'm over it. Completely just done with it. And I'm sorry, that was before COVID, but thankfully, January hit, got through that, and then COVID hit March. The lockdowns hit in March over here, and we had 2 to 3 months off, and I was able to take some time, just spend it with the family and not have to go into training. And man, I'm telling you what, that was an absolute perfect timing for me.
Oh, I bet. Well, that's always been one of the big criticisms about English football is the fact that there hasn't been that traditional winter break. And because other leagues, like whether it's the Bundesliga or La Liga in Spain, these other leagues that shut down for about a month, if not longer, over the holidays, once you get to late in the season, when you're trying to either play for promotion, you're trying to play for a top four for a Champions League place, and you're going into the international tournaments in the summer. The English national team, people have always criticized because they're so worn down. Guys are always so beaten down because they've been playing straight through and playing so many congested fixtures over the time you talked about during the holidays when everybody else is on the beach or in Dubai.
I mean, it's spot on. And it's one of those that they've constantly complained about it, but they don't want to. It's just ingrained over here to play over Christmas. It's ingrained to play over New Year's. Boxing Day is one of the biggest games on everyone's calendar, and unfortunately, English football, the FA, they haven't wanted to get rid of it. But then they'll happily complain, or you'll have everyone complain that the English teams can't they're not doing great in the Champions League anymore. The English national team in the Euros or World Cup, they're struggling, and it's a fatigue thing. There's you can't deny that.
Yeah. Right.
And they've to their credit, they tried to come up with a system. I want to say last year, so
yeah,
just before COVID, where basically half the teams they treat it as like an international break. So half the teams would have a weekend off, and then the next weekend the other half would have off. So you're looking at a 2-week period where you don't have any games, but they're still making them go in and train. You maybe have 2 days off and then train 3 or 4 days and then 2 days off. But when you're still talking, maximum of a 5-day rest, broken into
Right.
two parts, when everyone
Right.
else, like you said, is on a beach or in Dubai,
Yeah.
or and have weeks strung together off. It's just not, it's not the same. But I guess this year's different. They had a Champions League winner, so
And the English national team is actually doing pretty well at the Euros. I mean, we've got the semifinal matches coming up each of the next 2 nights. Now, England will play Denmark at Wembley Stadium on Wednesday night. The game that precedes that on Tuesday is Spain against Italy. So as we dive into those two matchups, that first one, Spain against Italy, has a lot of interesting storylines. And I think one of them is the fact that Italy has enjoyed this resurgence with this young group of talent that's come through. And it's not sort of like the old and tired defensive Italian setup that we've kind of heard about over the last decade or so. I mean, they've been infused with a new system, a new style of play, and it's really fun to watch, and it's working pretty well.
yeah, I mean, I think they've been all the rage in the group stages anyway. Like you said, you're used to seeing the Italian teams have great structure, great shape defensively, but they were getting up in age and missing out on the 2018 World Cup. I think you could probably say that's potentially saved them as a program.
Point.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it.
So, with regard to that semifinal game, Spain against Italy, big picture, before we kind of get into the minutia, how do you see it?
I don't know. This is a difficult one because I have connections to one of the guys on Spain, so I don't know. I think, yeah, it's great that Italy has this attacking style, and then they're getting between the lines. But I just see Spain as a solid team. Although, listen, their last couple of games have been a little bit crazy, haven't they? They like to give up a late goal. You know what? For my in-laws, I'll say Italy. I see Italy going through. I see them playing in the final.
But you do have to admit, though, that the loss of Leonardo Spinazzola, their left back, I mean, what a crushing blow that has to be. I mean, he was one of the best players in the entire tournament. Now, not only is he injured, but it looks like he's gone for several months with an Achilles injury. So that emotionally and mentally has to be a huge blow for them.
Yeah, it does. But I think if you're gonna lose a player, I think an outside back is probably one of the spots that you can potentially get away with that. I know having an injury, in the way he's done it with the Achilles, we all know as professionals how long of a recovery that is, and how bad of an injury that is.
Mm-hmm.
So, it'll be a little bit of a shock to their squad. There's no doubt about it. But listen, you don't go 32 unbeaten without having a good backup in every position. You can't deny that. So I don't think it will be as bad or as detrimental as people think.
In terms of the other semifinal, you've got on Wednesday England and Denmark. Now, the fact that this semifinal, as well as the final, both going to be at Wembley in London. It's been a long drought for the English. Things seem to be lined up for them. I mean, they cruised past Ukraine in the quarterfinal round. And, I mean, they're hitting all of their marks right now. I mean, they have not allowed a single goal, clean sheets all the way through. They've got depth and talent across the board. If it's going to happen for England, it seems like now's the time, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Like you said, what has it been? 5 clean sheets now?
Yeah.
Kane scoring 3 goals in his last 2. 2 games. I mean, could you get a better start to a quarterfinal match?
Yeah, they were up 2-0 before you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 4 minutes into the game, and then a minute after halftime. I mean, probably the only 2 better times to score is right before halftime and right before our last kick of the game. So yeah, I mean, they're flying right now. They're the country it's actually insane. I mean, you would think that it was a holiday, national holiday. I mean, the amount of people that were out wearing England jerseys that had flying English flags on their cars. I mean, it might be a party from now until Wednesday night after that game, and if they win, it'll be a party all the way until the end of that final. It's insane how serious they take it and how much they love it. I mean, the slogan and the saying right now over here is it's coming home. Football's coming home. So it's and it's right. all over the radio. It's everywhere. TV, it's huge.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're sort of living it right in the middle of it there in London, and I was watching the game in the round of 16 against Germany. And I know a lot of the English fans were kind of hiding their eyes because it had been so long since they had beaten Germany in a knockout game at a big tournament. And this was a huge test. And the fact that they won that game at the end, I mean, the reaction of the crowd, it wasn't even a full crowd at Wembley because of COVID. It was still a pared down crowd. But yet the atmosphere and the volume, I had to remind myself it was just a round of 16. I mean, it felt like a semi or a final. I mean, the elation and the fans were incredible.
I think the elation and the relief. When Sterling scored, I was actually at my 2 boys had a football session with a local team here, and the coaches they all their phones buzzed all at the same time, and the jumping and hooting and hollering and everything was just. I was just like, what? Wait a minute, what's going on here? What's happening? They're like, yeah, England scored, yeah, we're gonna do it, and I'm thinking, well, I mean, easy, it's only 1-0 here, it's our, but yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure you could feel the whole country just let out a big sigh of relief, and then all of a sudden it was shouting and screaming, in every household here.
Right. Yeah. I mean. And it feels different for England this year. I mean, they've had talent and they've had opportunities before, and things have just not worked out. And it's happened for all kinds of different reasons. But this year, I don't know. I mean, it's more just the vibe that you seem to get around the team, and you look at the talent that they have. And sometimes the whole isn't greater than the sum of the parts. But right now, when they're at their best, when they're moving the ball, when they're playing quickly, and you look at the different pieces that they have out there, and the fact that Pickford's been so good in goal, it's been a series of clean sheets. I mean, it's hard to see anybody beating them in what would be their final 2 games, whether it's Spain, Italy, or even Denmark in the semis.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. I think if you look at back to front, you have one of the best strikers in the world. Up top, a creative midfield, no matter who they bring in. Whether it's Grealish, Sancho gets his chance tonight, and I mean the media and fans have been screaming for Grealish, for Sancho, to be included in as starters, and they've gotten that. Grealish comes in the other night and assists on the first goal. Sancho comes in tonight. They win 4-0. Like, you can't really argue with the things that have happened when these guys have played. And then your back line. He's brought the joke over here was he brought 10 right backs into the squad. Played one of them at left back the first game, but Yeah, I mean, listen, the squad from you know from Kane back to Pickford, and even the guys who are coming in and playing sub minutes is just they're just a good overall squad, and there's no yeah, they're superstars, but there's no big time names like you had years ago, the Beckhams, the Ferdinands, these guys, yeah, they all play at big clubs, but they're just not. They're not like they don't strike you as like, oh my goodness,
Right.
like awe inspiring. They're not like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the best compliment you can give, this English team.
Yeah, and it seems like there is a camaraderie among these players. They seem like they're friends. They get along. There isn't that sort of rivalry that you might get, or you might think would exist when you have guys, with Man City, with Chelsea, with Tottenham, guys who play against each other on some pretty big stages. I mean, Man City and Chelsea played in the Champions League final, but they seem to have put that aside, and they're really together. They're not just wearing the same shirt. They seem like they're really in the same boat, rowing the same oar.
Yeah, I think so as well. And you look at, I mean, listen, Roy Keane has alluded to it. The situation with Gilmore and Chilwell and these guys having conversations before, and he's like, oh, what are these guys talking to each other for? Like, why are you talking? Like, he's on the other team, but like, it's a different era. It's a different time. Years ago, these guys would go to the street and get in fistfights. Now, everybody, yeah, we compete on the field, and we want to beat the next guy just as much as the fans want their team to beat the other team. But at the end of the day, these guys come in, they have a common goal. That they've got a chance to win a Euros. They've not been to a semifinal in 20 some odd years. It's a big deal, and I think they recognize that. And as players, when you can recognize that you have a chance to do something special and be a part of a team that can do something that's not been done in a long time, you put those petty club rivalries aside, and like you said, you all row in the same direction, and you get the job done, and that's what they're doing right now.
Well, if there was one weakness or some kind of vulnerability where England could be beaten here, what do you think it would be? How would you set up and attack them if you were an opposing manager?
I don't know. It's a great question. I think that the one big weakness that everyone talks about over here is Pickford. Is the goalie? They're worried about him. He kind of comes for things he shouldn't. He's kind of always in between. So they're worried about him being a safe pair of hands. At that point, you're just putting the idea as it normally is put shots on goal, get crosses in the box, and make him make decisions. If I had to pick a tactically, I think they just sometimes play a little bit too safe, and other than today when they get the quarterfinal when they get an early goal, and settle the nerves, you're looking at their games are just cagey. So I think if Denmark can have a good amount of possession, wear them down a little bit, get in between in between lines and get into pockets, and get turned and running at Maguire. He doesn't seem to do all that well when guys are running at him. There's every chance that they can pull off an upset. But whether Denmark see it as an upset, who knows? I mean, they're riding a wave right now as well.
Right. Yeah. No, I know. And the thing you mentioned about England with regard to playing it safe, I think, is interesting because we kind of saw glimpses of that in the Germany game, and sometimes that's part and parcel of playing in big games where there's a lot at stake, and typically when there's two good teams, it's not as free flowing, and guys don't want to take chances. Guys don't want to make that big mistake, and it sometimes can plod along or just feel like it's more conservative, right? So if you take that approach, or if the game just starts that way, whether you're trying to or not, things happen. I mean, as you know, just stuff happens, and all of a sudden maybe a ball gets played over the top, and Stones doesn't react well, and who knows? If they fall behind, it would be the first time in this tournament they've fallen behind, and then it changes things, and the game plan goes out the window maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, you can sit back and you can have a shape and be tactically astute all you want, but if Denmark comes out and they say, you know what do we have to lose here? We've got nothing to lose. The whole situation with Eriksson, as their doctor had said, no matter what happens, they've won because he's living, he's breathing, he's alive, he's all right. Mm-hmm. So they come out, even if they do, get opened up early on, and England do score an early goal. Guess what? Ukraine could have easily turned that game around tonight. A goal in the 4th minute does not end your game. You still got 90, most times 90 more minutes to play with extra with added time. So yeah, I think if Denmark come out and put England on their heels, attack early, England's they've not really seen that. Like you said, put a ball in behind, a few balls in behind, and cause them trouble that way. You could see a completely different England team in the semifinal and have their cage rattled a little bit.
Yeah, you mentioned Christian Eriksen, that probably will come away as being one of the biggest stories and moments of the entire tournament, regardless of what happens here in this final week. And it was certainly so startling for anybody who was watching around the world. And I find it interesting that you apparently had something similar happen, not to you, but in a game that you were involved in, right?
Yeah. So we were playing Tottenham. I was with Bolton at the time in 2012. We were playing Tottenham in an FA Cup game. And Fabrice Muamba had gone down and right in the middle of the White Hart Lane, and just collapsed. And seeing pictures of him go down, and the little short video clip of him kind of falling over. My mother-in-law, texted my wife and said, what's going on here? What's happening with him, kind of thing. And I was on vacation. We were away, had basically put, had no TVs, no nothing. So I hadn't seen any of it. But as soon as she said that, my heart and my stomach, it was just like just a knot, because that it just brings back a lot of not so nice images of that day. In fact, Eriksen's probably alive because of what happened to Fabrice. Because at the time, the defib machines were not. It wasn't a requirement to have them. Littered around stadiums, and Fabrice actually died for 76 minutes. He was clinically gone for 76 minutes, and I think they said Eriksen was only probably 3 or 4, if that. So it's a testament to the medical teams nowadays. But yeah, that day with Fabrice will live long in my memory, and this situation with Eriksen definitely brought all that flooding back. And it almost didn't seem real either time.
Yeah. When it happened in your game, what happened with the rest of the game? Did you guys continue the game, or did you call it off?
No, they canceled it. They were just like, you know what, it was. I want to say there was probably, I don't know, around 10 minutes left before halftime, and we were all just, the guys on the field came running over to the bench, and they were like, we don't want to go over there. This is, it's not okay. Like, this isn't all right. Like, guys were really, really, really shaken up, and we ended up going into the locker rooms, waiting there for a bit, and the referees, the people from the FA, both the club's managers, and the directors all were like, listen, it's too much. He's laying out there, and didn't have the luxury of people throwing flags that they could block and cover what was going on. So you're seeing them, right. I mean, being paddled and shocked and jumping off the ground, and it was just awful. So they postponed that game, and I think we ended up playing it probably a week or so later, just restarting it from the very beginning.
That was the thing about this instance. I mean, I was surprised that they continued this game. I would have thought that they would have postponed it. I mean, I just don't know as a player how you go on and you play. I mean, I know you can go through the motions, but I mean, you're not in the game at that point. You're checked out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was checked out for 3 or 4 days. They gave us loads of time off after that happened. They brought in counselors. They brought in psychiatrists. They did a lot. I mean, guys were messaging back and forth, and we're like, what is this? It just, you're so, I mean, like you said, checked out. You just can't even think about anything other than him making it through. And even then, we weren't sure if he was making it through. We eventually got on the bus and drove back up to Manchester, and finally halfway up, got word that he was that his heart was beating again on its own, and that they got him going. But I can't believe they played it, truthfully, at all.
Yeah. Well, it'll be a remarkable story either way for Denmark, whether or not they advance to the final, or whether or not the Final Four is as far as they get. So, as we get set to wrap up episode number 1, what is going to be the championship matchup? You've got Spain against Italy in semi number 1, England, Denmark, semi number 2. Who's going to be playing next Sunday night at Wembley for the Euro title?
I'm going to predict Italy, England.
Italy and England, okay. Well,
Italy, England. That's my prediction. But
okay.
Listen.
Well, I asked you, so that's good that
I know. I just don't want. I got a lot of people who are in Spain. Shush. I'll be right. Hold on. Okay. Go sit down, please. Go sit down. Quiet. I see your boo-boo. Yeah.
Sounds like Neymar there. It sounds like Neymar.
Oh,
like honestly. In the penalty area.
Yeah. Falling over.
Yes, she's got a straight. I see your boo-boo, Neymar.
Yep. Okay, go sit down. Okay, good job. Yep. She just got up, just like Neymar. She got straight up and ran off.
It's a miracle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
So you mentioned the connection to Spain. I mean, do you take a lot of heat or something because you're picking against Spain? What's going on?
No. So one of the guys on the team, he plays here, plays in England. His kids go to school with my kids, and they've all grown up together. They've been in school together for 5 years now. So we're somewhat good friends with them, and our kids are good friends with their kids. So I don't want them to think that I don't think they can win, because I do. I just think Italy's wave is a little bit stronger with their unbeaten run. But I mean, at this point, you've been playing so long that you have connections to all these teams. I mean, Denmark, I played with one of their backup center backs, this past year in Joachim Andersen. So, and then if I don't pick England, I mean,
right,
I'm pretty sure I won't. I'll have to move.
Yeah, right. If anybody finds out,
so I need to. I need to be careful here. I'm looking out for myself.
If England doesn't win, given the way it's set up for them, I mean, they may burn the town down anyway, so it may not matter in the end.
Yeah, that's very true. But let's not hope that happens.
Yeah. Well, episode number 1 in the bank. What'd you think?
Done. Yeah, no, it's great. It can only get better, right? You got to start somewhere. So
you hope it can only get better. I mean, I'm sure it can always get worse. I mean, everything can always get worse, but you just don't think that way, right?
No, you don't think that way. You think with a good mind.
Right,
you know what I mean? You think that your positive outlook, and we keep it going, and have another episode soon.
And it's good timing too, because somebody does not want to go to bed. Neymar wants to stay up,
but she doesn't want to be on camera.
Right.
She wants to stay up, but she needs to go to bed. But that's life with kids. You know what I mean? This is real. This is in the flesh. This is raw. There's no fake in this.